Okay, it's day 163, part 2. So this could be about Frank Enzyme Bradley. Frank Enzyme Bradley. Everybody knows an enzyme helps, you make something 1,000 times faster, it catalyzes a reaction. Who doesn't know that? This is going to be about Frank Enzyme Bradley, the guy who just got caught with all these guns and bioweapons in Dallas, Texas. Was Frank Enzyme Bradley and his wife planning a bio attack and a smoke grenade and automatic weapons attack at the NRA meeting, the upcoming NRA meeting in Dallas on May 3rd, 4th, 5th this year in Dallas. They were caught just outside Dallas. So everybody says, oh, Frank Enzyme Bradley. Now, the Enzyme was his company. Now, it's not Enzyme with a Z, E-E-N-E-N-Z. Just flip the S around, just flip the Z around to Enzyme, S-Y-M. And the Boston Globe, I helped you out there. And this is not to be confused with Frank Enzyme Olson, who you may remember from the Bioweapons Research Facility at Fort Detrick in Maryland, which I've reported on. The guy was kind of suicide and thrown out of the Bethesda Naval Hospital where we've done issues. So not Frank Enzyme Olson, this is Frank Enzyme Bradley. Think of Frank Enzyme Bradley being in a Bradley fighting vehicle standing next to Frank Enzyme Olson. So anyway, this is all about bioweapons and it's all about terrorism. And it looks like this person worked for DynCorp. I'm going to just say right now, and it looks like he had a cover from Defense Cover Office from DIA for being an executive for telecommunications companies. Is he carrying around BlackBerry Enterprise servers? Is he carrying around that technology? Well, no, but he's associated with a contractor from the Stratfor leaks and WikiLeaks that has expertise in all those things. He's also got ties to ways of multiplying enzymes through what's called PCR, so he's got that. His wife also, even though she's a Harvard degree person, he's a George Washington graduate degree. They've got all these weapons and they've got all these bioterrorism weapons. And they've got press passes that say Frank. Now his real name is Francho, like Rancho Cordova, only Francho Cordova. So, were the people in DynCorp as a way of sort of like the shooting that we had a little bit earlier in Dallas? Were they getting rid of people or trying to create a bioterrorism incident in order to increase their spend on national security or whatever? We don't really know. But it reminded me of it reminded me a lot of the previous Dallas shooting with the snipers, only this is with a deadly virus. It could have just been flu virus, but they had these smoke grenades and they had these automatic weapons. His son, Francho's son, also had died earlier in 2003, I think in a police shooting. So there's a revenge motive there to get back at the NRA or get back at cops or whatever. So we don't know that. But it reminded me of this movie called, with Bill Binney, called Good American. And I saw it again this morning with Deep Milwaukee and her husband. So the key there was knowing signatures in advance to be able to predict these type of events. And typically when somebody has a whole bunch of automatic weapons, a whole bunch of smoke bombs, a whole bunch of bioweapons, they're going to be training somebody for about a month out. So are they going to Fort Hood? Were they going to Fort Hood because they were near Killeen, Texas, to do this training, pick out some group of these Fort Hood snipers that we've identified where all this terrorism's coming from? Was that really what had happened? That unit inside Fort Hood got corrupted in Afghanistan and they got involved in this drug trade. So is that really what's happening here? We don't really know, but Bill Binney was making the point with Thin Thread that there's 5 or even before Thin Thread, there's 3 or 4 or 5 indicators that usually point to terrorist incidents where the NSA was collecting hundreds on every person in America. And oh, by the way, the key 5 indicators, the key 5 signatures, were not in any of them. And really, if you think about this series, it's all about that entity mapping. What Bill Binney was saying is you map these key entities, you have bioweapons, you have a cutout profile in WikiLeaks from the DIA Defense Cover Organization, where you've got a MBA or whatever. Usually MBAs in public administration from Georgetown or, you know, PhDs from Harvard don't run around with a lot of bioweapons. They don't run around with a lot of automatic weapons. They don't run around with smoke bombs. They don't run around talking about the OJ killing and other potential murders that they were involved in or in supporting. It doesn't go together, but those things go together with a DynCorp type terrorist event, kind of this Clockwork Orange event that we were talking about earlier. So if you want to catch up with the story, look up Enzyme Bradley and the Bradley fighting vehicle, and look it up, and you can see that there's been a lot of, Heavy has the Fast 5 facts on it and so forth. And what I really try to do is come up with this kind of unifying reason. I look at these signatures like Vinny does and look at the 5 signatures. I look at the DIA Deep Cover Office cutout profile in LinkedIn. He's the CEO of everything, and so is his wife, right? Yet they're running around with bioweapons, bragging about different intelligence operations and murders and so forth, and they're involved in all this kind of internecine activity. Those are the signatures I look for. When Defense Cover Office gives me an MBA or whatever from Harvard and I'm running around with automatic weapons, those two things normally don't go together. They're my signature for an upcoming event at NRA, May 3rd in Dallas.